get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome back to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Bosch, and I'm here with my co-host,
Michelle Bosch, Mom Bosch.
Yeah. And today we're going to go over, so I have a property under contract, and I'm looking to sell it. And we're basically going to start explaining how I found a realtor.
Yeah.
To help me sell it.
Yes. And basically the decision was, do we sell by ourselves? And there's some pro and cons to that. Versus selling, using the help of a realtor. If you would have sold yourself, what would have been some of the advantages to you basically going through the process of the sale yourself?
By going through the process, you have to do the listing, create the pictures for the listing, things like that. Do your own research, even though you can have ChatGPT do it for you. You basically, and at the end of the day, you don't have to pay the realtor like the commission or
exactly. And so
you get all that for yourself. So that's the benefit. The downside of that, it takes a while.
It takes a while, but more than anything,
You also probably aren't the most well versed in the area. You also don't know who to market to. Because usually realtors have like lists of people that they reach out to, things like that.
Yeah. And mainly the consideration was that on these 5 acres here in the state of Arizona, that you are also, having the equivalent of a full-time job by going to school, and that you might not have the time to basically follow up timely with every single lead that comes and every single buyer lead that comes.
Right.
So we made the decision together that you were going to basically go and try to find a realtor. And the benefits of using the realtor would be what you described, buyer lists, possibly getting a higher price from them, but it may take a little longer, but it also could be that it goes faster if he has a good active list of buyers, for the area. So so that was the decision, whether to do it ourselves. If you would have done it on your own, where would you have listed the properties?
Landwatch, Facebook,
Marketplace.
Zillow.
Yeah. And you
Redfin.
And you get to Zillow by using brokerless MLS,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay. So so then let's talk about the actual process of finding a great realtor. How did you arrive at a name, for example, that we're going to be still calling later on this afternoon? But how do we arrive at that name? And we still need to ask a few questions, but tell us, what was the process?
Okay, so basically, I have the laptop here to show the process. So I have Land ID. This is my account. I logged in. And so basically, I picked the state of Arizona where the property is. And I have somewhere here the parcel number. Let me pull it up.
And you're gonna enter it. You don't need You don't need to say, but go ahead.
I'll enter it. So this property is in
Maricopa County.
Maricopa.
Okay, then. So we have.
So this is the property. It is 5 acres in Maricopa County. And so basically, after you find it, this is a great application. You can see who.
What application are you on right now?
I'm on Land ID.
Land ID. Okay.
And
normally land doesn't have addresses, Sophia. So what are you doing right now to find an address?
I am finding a house nearby, like the Stude's house. And I'm they don't. Okay, this person has an address. So I'm going to copy this and put it into Zillow. and just search. So just so we get into the right area. Okay. So, yep, that's the dude's. Our property is somewhere here.
Okay. So you have found basically a listing of another property that is in the general vicinity. Are you looking at listed or sold right now?
I am, well, okay, so I have to put the time period, let's say like 24 months.
Okay, 2 years. In the
2
last 2
years.
years.
What has been sold and what is for sale. So basically, I remove the boundary and I draw my own boundary. So this is the area that my property is in, Whispering Ranch. And I draw a border around. And so I take whatever is in this area and I apply it. So there are for sale, there are 40 results.
Okay.
You can look through here. You'll also see the market value, whatever.
Yeah, you'll get a little bit of comps. But if we wanted to make sure that we find a realtor that is actually going to get it sold and is going to get it sold quickly, what are you going to do?
I'm going to switch to the sold. So in the past 2 years, there are 106 in this area that I circled are sold. So then I click on one of them. Down below, there usually is an area that says who listed it. So, and who you bought it with. Or like,
yeah, who's the listing agent and who's the
and in this case,
buyer's
it's
agent?
the same person.
Okay.
There's a lady called, it's listed by Kelly Meadows, and then it's bought with Kelly Meadows.
Okay, so she was both the listing agent and the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
The seller's agent and buyer's agent.
So you would basically go through all of this, put it into a spreadsheet, and whichever name comes up the most, you would call them.
So how many listings did you
here
personally go through?
So Mike Cave and Nidia Almonte or whatever.
Almonte, yeah.
So you would call them.
Yeah.
And basically, we'll talk to them, see if they're a good realtor, and have that conversation too.
Okay. So right now, through how many listings did you go through in order to find the Michael Jordan of realtors in that area?
I think I said it even to 36 months. But
how many realtors, how many listings did you go through?
I went through probably a good 100, 120, 150, somewhere there.
Okay,
like quite a few.
And you basically copied and pasted into a spreadsheet the name of the realtor.
Yeah.
And then how did you select the realtor after you copied and pasted? The person that what?
I just saw a pattern. I'm sure there's like shortcuts in Excel to see how many times people's names come up, but I could already tell off the bat who I was gonna be calling.
And so the person that had their name
come up the most, that is my realtor.
Okay, so now
there's usually a couple. I found a couple that came up that quite often. So
okay, wonderful.
There was like two
so now we have a name, and you had an email address. What did you have to do to actually find her phone number?
I went on LinkedIn. I found her LinkedIn or
phone number.
Yeah.
Or LinkedIn account in the
which in her bio, it was like the first sentence, it was like, call me if you want your property sold or call this number. I'm like, great.
Awesome. Amazing. So now comes then the conversation which you're about to have of calling up that realtor and actually figuring out if this is your future potential business partner, that you're not just going to give this one listing, but many future listings as well. So we need to, in our conversation with her, really convey to her that this is their very first, business transaction together, but we're not looking to be transactional, but we're looking to be transformational to each other and to, in the future, come back again and again to her. And so we're trying to find out from her, Sophia, what she's going to charge typically in land, I can tell you it's about 10%.
Right.
But there's a few questions that you want to ask her in order to determine if she's our gal, if she's the person, if she's the equivalent of the Michael Jordan that we're looking for. Yeah. Only in the realtor's world. And one of the question would be how many pieces of land she sold in the last 12 months.
Right.
How long did it take her to sell, those pieces of land? For our particular property, another very good question would be,
how much would you sell it for?
How much would she sell it for? Especially if we have two ways of selling. Because in our world, we can either sell for cash, right? Mm-hmm. Or we could sell using seller financing.
And for this case, we can put both options on there depending on who the buyer that comes. Mm-hmm. Like, if they say, I have the cash, I'm ready, then you'll do it that way. Or if they come with wanting to put a down payment and then pay it off over it, you can do that too.
We can do that too.
Having both options
So we're going to ask her, for both scenarios, for either a cash sale or a seller financing, what she thinks would be a good price point in order to get those sold. Yeah.
Because we already have our own idea of what we would. So if we were to do it ourselves.
So if you were to sell it for cash, what dollar amount are you thinking?
23,000
for cash.
23,000 for cash. At least I would start it at that, and then if I see no less engagement, I would push it down a little bit.
Drop it down.
Yeah. Drop it down. And then with the down payment, I would have 20,000 or something with like a $4,000 down payment or something.
Okay, so 24,000.
24,000. Yeah.
24,000 with a 4,000, and 20,000 would be then finance over the course of the next 5 to 8 years. Okay, with a down payment, and we want to ask for we want to ask for a good enough down payment, Sophia, because when people don't have enough, what we like to say, money in the deal, they're more likely to stop making payments. Yeah. So in order for you to not have that experience, we want to ask for at least 20% down. Okay. And if that is 20% of 24,000 or of 20,000, depending on whether it's cash or if it's seller financing, we're looking at 24. So 24,000 times 0.20, we're looking for
4,800
for somebody that is willing to bring 4,800. And here's why: because we need them to have enough blood in the deal, enough money in the deal, but we also need to cover the cost of closing, which is going to be anywhere between $900 and $1,200.
Okay.
For that area. And we need to be able to pay for that from the proceeds of the buyer. We are going to also talk to the realtor about how will they market the property. We want to basically find out what plan does she have, or has she used successfully in the past to sell property in this area quickly. So we want to hear, what she has in mind. We want to hear about buyers lists. We want to hear about her basically presenting it to other brokers. We want to hear, those would be all good indications, that she definitely wants to work with us.
And if we don't hear those, I have a few others too that came up quite often also.
That you can call. Okay, wonderful.
Well, even though I set the time period to 24 months right now,
that's an easy click.
Like, you also want to see that, like, the person over the 24 months have sold periodically. And it's not just like
continuously.
Yeah, and it's not just in the past. Yeah, like a year ago, and then just stopped.
And then they just stopped. Yeah. Okay, so great. So those are some of the considerations and questions that you want to ask. Now, Sophia, there is such a thing as a non-exclusive agreement. So when we are listing it with an agent, the agent, if he or she is her own broker or her broker, will want us to basically sign an agreement where it says that this property is yours, that you have equitable interest in the property, that you are agreeing to sell it for this amount, that you are agreeing to pay the realtor X amount of percentage in commission, and that they have normally they like to see an exclusive agreement to sell, meaning that any leads during the period of the listing agreement, which is usually for 12 months, that come in and that turn into an offer and into an actual sale, that they're going to be paid, from those. However, there is something called a non-exclusive agreement, which means that you have the ability to continue marketing the property on your own. In this case, we would use AI to help us create the listing, which you actually already have.
I do.
Yeah. And you're going to get basically help from someone on getting all your aerial photos done for the listing.
Which you could do most of it yourself. And
Exactly.
just basically outline it or like in red and put like a bubble next to it saying this is the property.
And you could list it in Facebook Marketplace and in Brokerless MLS, and in parallel, as the realtor is trying to market the property or marketing the property as well, you could be marketing it as well.
And if I get it from my side, what happens? Yeah,
so that's the thing. In a non-exclusive agreement, you technically wouldn't have to pay her, but my recommendation would be that you market it and let her know that even if the lead comes from you, that the moment that you have a qualified lead, that you would pass on this lead to her in order for her to basically continue the conversation and take care of all the paperwork for you with the buyer, sending all the documents to escrow, to the title company, and basically seeing that transaction completely and fully funded, from that moment on. And she takes the ball, she runs with it. And that way, while you're in school, if anything comes up, all those conversations that are needing to be happening with the buyer and with the title company during the day, she could be taking care of those as well for you, regardless of whether she had an exclusive or non-exclusive agreement with you. Basically, we want her to know that we want to work with her, that we don't want to just work with her on this one deal, but we want to continue working with her long term. And that's how we are taking care of her, is that if we marketed ourselves, any lead, we would pass on to her and we would still pay her the full commission, even that lead was originated by us. Yeah, absolutely. It would be 100% fine. So I think we're ready to make that phone call. Are you a little bit scared? Do you want to role play here with me how that phone call is going to go with the realtor?
Do I?
Well, you're going to introduce yourself. You're going to say, I have a piece of land that I own in this county. I see on Zillow that you're the gal to call. And I would love to, list my property with you. And I have a few questions for you. And then you would go through the series of questions that we just addressed.
So what are your lists looking like? How time frame that you sell it in?
Yeah.
Or how many properties have you sold?
Mm-hmm. What strategies is she going to use?
To market it.
Uh-huh.
And then what else?
Probably compensation. We'll need to address the compensation part.
And then if the non-exclusive.
Yeah, we can talk about if we procure the lead, we would, are you okay with us marketing it in parallel and procuring the lead? We would still pay you. For your work, and we would just pass on the lead to you, and we would still pay you the same commission. Right. That's pretty much the conversation, and then you would have to have handy basically the name in which you have taken title and you own the property, or you would have the conversation. In this case, we already have purchased the property. But if you didn't buy the property yet and you had it on, under contract with a seller, you would say at this point that you're about to close on that transaction, that you have equitable title. And if she would list properties where you have equitable title, that would be basically the gist of the conversation. So I'm
straightforward.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to see you, make that first phone call and see what happens. And hopefully we get some ka-ching, from the sale of the property.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of you that have been listening. I hope that if you are in the world of land investing, that this has been helpful to you in determining on whether you want to, list your properties yourself or go with a realtor, and the process that we are taking here on our end in order to find the Michael Jordans of realtor in a specific area, and what to say to them and how to move forward so that you can get a quick sale from your land flip. With that, thank you so much for being with us, and looking forward to coming into your world with another episode in the upcoming week. Thank you.